Roofing for Beginners, and today I'm going to be a bit distracted because we've recently moved home. There's boxes everywhere. It's our new kitchen. Again, it's not fully unpacked. We've got bits on the side, we've got boxes. So as you can see, pretty busy. We've been moving since Wednesday, so I obviously had to pack everything beforehand. I'm going to go into a video maybe into the future on move-ins and that. Because of that, this week I haven't got lots of footage to show you, but I did have one question from one guy asking about bay windows, and he asked, how would you finish a curved bay window? And it turned out that we've literally just done 2 curved windows. For the last video we did a silicone rendering job. That's where we had to do 2 curved bay windows, and so I thought, I took footage of it. I've only done the finishing process, unfortunately. But what I did, we applied render, we applied the scratch coat, but halfway on the plinth there was also a DPC, a damp proof course. So what we've used an expansion bead, which is basically 2 stop beads with a gap in the middle, and in the gap there is also like a plastic, so which divides the 2 beads. So that allowed us to separate the bottom half from the top, and it provided a natural damp break within the render. So we've applied the render, we've applied this expansion bead, and now I'm just going to show you the process on how we finished it. Again, it's nothing too crazy, but I was thinking myself, how can you finish a curved wall with a floating sponge? So that's exactly what I'm going to show you. So like I said, it's a shorter video due to all this and the new house we've got to do, but we have got videos on this coming. We're planning to taking this wall out, maybe that wall. We'll see. We've got some wall paneling and we've got lots of upgrades to do, so that'll be coming in the future. But for now, let's talk about the rendering job and how to sort it. Cheers. Joy. Finished floating the world. Okay, so that little float there is what it's going to do its magic. I've had that float for years, you've seen it in lots of videos, but basically it's just a normal PU float. And the way we're going to get around it is, rather than follow the wall and float it up in circular motions, what I've been doing is keeping my float tight to the render but curving it round. This has been, for me, the best way to get the results, and to also close in the render ready for the sponging stage. As you can see, I'm also following along the expansion bead there, but it's not perfectly straight, or it's not perfectly flum, so what we've got to do is just work the render around it. There's going to be a bit of undulation around the render within the bead, but we thought that was the best way to do it without giving a bell cast. Usually you create a bell cast and that's what creates a bit of a drip between the DPC, but basically this expansion joint was a way we found the best separate the 2 halves of render. So yeah, like I said, just working and following it round the curve rather than doing circular motions like you would traditionally with the floating. And for us, this worked really well. Like, I can't say I've done many curved bay windows before, but the knack was basically just getting it right at the beginning. So when we applied it using just a normal trowel, but we just made sure we used a rule. But the biggest secret was using the steel speed skim. That helped us to create the curve and create a nice smooth curve without any lines or bulges, basically. Well, as you can see, when we're getting close, you can see us closing up the render there. For me, this was probably the most important stage, is just making sure that when we floated, we took out any high spots, filled in the low, and this pre-broken in float really did do it some favours. I preferred to use the little one rather than the big one, to be honest. I just found this got better results. But as I'm going, I'm also cleaning the expansion bead as I go. As you can see, the render does fill up in there. I'm just emptying it with the float and then giving it that natural break. I think it looks really cool as well to have that expansion bead on, where you can see a nice divide with the white. It's going to all get painted, but still, it's nice to show off your work at the end, and obviously to show that you have cared about the DPC in the first place. So yeah, the best way to float it was just following the wall rather than working against it. We've gone right, the guys dug a little trench for us as well. We've rendered right below that, so when it does fill in, and when he does do the drive eventually, then it'll all be buried, and safe. So yeah, again, just filling in any holes, filling in any rough spots with the render, and then just getting it with the float. But to be honest, it really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Just don't force the render too hard, and don't push it in and out of place. And the other thing is hitting the render at the exact right time. I can't give timings for that with rendering, unfortunately, but if you can put your finger into the render and it's not leaving an imprint and it's not leaving a finger mark within itself, and then it's generally a good time to start floating. So as you can see, I've done the floating now. I've closed it off, and all we're doing is, again with the sponge, rather than circular motions, just following the render and following the curve with the sponge. And what I've done is a very dry, damp sponge. It's hardly no moisture in there at all. I don't want to bring the water back. I just want to keep the aggregate at bay, and I just want to kind of bring the texture out with the sponge, but again, constantly cleaning it off, and also cleaning that expansion joint, just to kind of keep it clear, and to show off the work as well. I mean, it's important that it looks right for the customers. But again, just following that bead along with the sponge, very gentle, holding the sponge very gently in the hand, no pressure, and we're just following it round, filling in any gaps with mist from the floating, and make sure we bring that texture out to the front, just to give it that traditional sand cement finish. I've also found that what I did do is gently troweled it first, and what I found is some dry spots that this pulled the moisture from the back in the cement and just brought it back a little bit. But I found it, more importantly, easier to sponge after I troweled it, especially with the curve. I don't usually do this with a traditional sand cement paneling, but with the curve, I thought it was a real good touch to make it easier to sand and bring that traditional finish back. So yeah, again, it's just working the float the right way, following the wall rather than working against it, and then just sponging, following the curve as you go, really. So yeah, that's what I found the best way for results, and that's what I found the best way to get a nice finish on your rendered curved wall. Thank you for watching. I know it was a shorter video this week. I'm back on schedule next week, but if you like this video, if you want more videos on rendering, hit the like button and subscribe to our video where we'll be covering a whole range of plastering, from plastering walls from scratch to rendering full walls, full gable ends. We're going to the full talks and works of plastering. So if you like this video, hit the like button and press subscribe to follow us. So yeah, thanks a lot. Keep on doing what you're doing, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.